If you are a Canadian senior receiving CPP and you have never looked at one specific document that is sitting inside your Service Canada account right now, there is a real possibility that your monthly pension payment is lower than it should be, not by a small amount. For some seniors, it is lower by $100, $200, even $300 every single month, and it has been lower than it should be for years. Not because of anything you did wrong, not because of any complicated legal problem, simply because an error exists in your record that nobody told you about and that Service Canada will not find for you automatically. That document is free. It takes about 5 minutes to access, and for the seniors who actually sit down and go through it carefully, it leads directly to a larger monthly pension payment for the rest of their lives. I have seen this play out for people. A retired factory worker from Windsor who found 3 years of missing earnings and added over $200 a month to his CPP. A former nurse from Calgary whose employer submitted the wrong figures for 4 consecutive years and whose correction resulted in a permanent increase of nearly $150 per month. Real people, real money. And in every single case, the reason they did not have that money before was simply that nobody told them this document existed or explained what to do with it. We are going through all of it today. What the document is, exactly where to find it for free, and most importantly, what specific things to look for inside it, because simply pulling the document is not what changes anything. It is knowing exactly what to check once you have it open. That is what this video is about. Stay with me to the end because the specific thing I am going to ask you to look for, the part that actually moves the needle on your monthly payment, is something almost nobody explains clearly. And once you understand it, it changes how you think about your Canada pension plan entirely. Welcome back, everyone. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is the channel that keeps Canadian seniors and pensioners informed about the benefits, the rules, and the opportunities that directly affect how much money lands in their account every single month. Everything shared here comes from confirmed Service Canada guidance and official Government of Canada publications. Subscribe right now and hit the bell because Service Canada does not call you when something in your record is wrong. The only person who is going to find this is you, and this video is going to show you exactly how. Now let us start with something that most Canadians have never been told about how their CPP retirement pension is actually calculated. Because once you understand this, everything else in this video is going to make complete sense. The Canada Pension Plan does not calculate your retirement benefit based on your last few years of work. It does not take a simple average of your lifetime income. The way CPP works is that Service Canada looks at your entire contribution history. Every year you worked and paid into CPP going back to 1966 or the year you turned 18, whichever came later. It then drops out your lowest earning years. Up to 17% of your contributory period can be dropped and calculates your average pensionable earnings from the remaining years. That average is then used to determine your monthly benefit amount. That average is everything. It is the single most important number in your entire CPP calculation. And the only place you can see the raw data behind that number year by year going back through your entire career is your CPP Statement of Contributions. So why does looking at this document lead to a higher pension for some seniors? Because the data in that statement came from employer payroll reports submitted over your entire working life, and sometimes those reports contain errors. A year where your employer submitted the wrong figure, a year where the number recorded is significantly lower than what you actually earned. A year that shows up as 0 when you know you were working and contributing. Each one of those errors pulls your average pensionable earnings down, which means your monthly CPP payment is lower than it should be. And it will stay lower than it should be until someone finds that error and corrects it. Service Canada does not find these errors for you. There is no automatic review. There is no alert that gets sent to your inbox. There is no letter that arrives saying your record may be incorrect. The data goes in, the benefit gets calculated, and unless you open your statement and compare it against your own records, those errors sit there silently for years, sometimes for decades. Now here is the question most seniors ask at this point. How common are these errors really? The honest answer is more common than most people expect. particularly for seniors who fall into certain categories. If you worked for a small business at any point during your career, especially before the year 2000 when payroll reporting was often handled manually rather than through computerized systems, the chances of an error in your CPP record are meaningfully higher than average. Small business owners handling their own payroll by hand made mistakes. They submitted incorrect figures. They sometimes submitted late, and those submissions went into your CPP record without any verification against what you actually earned. If you were self-employed at any point, worked as a freelancer, ran a contract business, or had any period of self-employment income, errors in how that income was reported can mean those years show up in your CPP record at a lower amount than what you actually earned and paid contributions on. If you change jobs frequently throughout your career, every job transition was another opportunity for incorrect data to be submitted. A new employer who had your name slightly wrong, a payroll system that did not carry over your information correctly, a final pay period that was submitted under the wrong year. And if you ever took time away from the workforce, raised children, went back to school, cared for a family member, or had any gap in employment, those years are supposed to show zeros in your CPP record because you were not contributing. But sometimes they are not actually zeros. Sometimes you were working during that period, and the earnings simply were not recorded correctly. Finding even one real year of contributions that was recorded as zero and getting it corrected can add meaningful money to your monthly CPP payment permanently. Now let us talk about the document itself, what it is, and exactly how to get it. The document is called Your CPP Statement of Contributions. It is free. It lives inside your MyService Canada account at canada.ca. If you have never set up a MyService Canada account, it takes approximately 15 minutes to create one, and you will need your SIN number and a piece of government-issued identification to verify your identity. Once you are logged in, your Statement of Contributions is right there in your CPP section. And what is inside it is something most Canadian seniors have genuinely never seen. Your complete CPP contribution history. Every single year you ever worked and paid into the Canada Pension Plan going back to the beginning of your career. Next to each year is a dollar amount showing the pensionable earnings that were recorded for that year. That is the number you are looking for. That is the number you need to check. Here is exactly what to do once you have the document open. Go through it year by year. You are looking for three specific things. The first thing you are looking for is years where the earnings amount looks lower than what you actually made. If you know you were working full-time in a particular year and earning a reasonable income, but the number on your statement is significantly lower than what you remember earning, that is a flag worth investigating. Pull out whatever records you have from that period, old T4 slips, income tax returns, pay stubs, anything that shows what you actually earned. If there is a meaningful difference between what is on your statement and what your records show, that is an error worth correcting. The second thing you are looking for is years that show zero when you know you were working. If your statement shows a zero for a year when you were employed and paying into CPP, that is a missing year. A year of contributions that should be in your record and is not. Each missing year that gets corrected brings your average pensionable earnings up, and a higher average means a higher monthly pension. The third thing you are looking for is years that are missing from the list entirely. Your statement should have an entry for every year from when you started working through the year you retired or stopped contributing. If a year is simply not there at all, that is the most significant type of error because it means that entire year of contributions may not be in your record. Now here is something most seniors do not know, and it is one of the most important practical pieces of information in this entire video. If you find an error in your CPP Statement of Contributions, you can file a formal correction request with Service Canada. The form is called a Request for Reconsideration, and it is available directly from Service Canada. You submit it along with documentation proving what your actual earnings were. The best evidence is your T4 slips from the year in question. Old income tax returns also work, pay stubs if you still have them. And here's the part that surprises most people. If you no longer have your old T4 slips from years ago, you can request copies from the CRA going back many years. The CRA keeps records of T4 information submitted by employers, and if your purpose is correcting your CPP record, they can provide that information to support your correction request. You do not have to assume that just because you no longer have the paperwork, the correction is impossible. In many cases, the documentation can be retrieved. Service Canada typically processes correction requests within a few weeks to a few months, depending on the complexity. And once the correction goes through, your CPP benefit is recalculated using the corrected earnings figures. The new higher amount starts appearing in your monthly payment going forward. There is no retroactive payment for past years of underpayment, which is exactly why finding this sooner rather than later matters so much. Every month that goes by with an error in your record is another month your payment is lower than it should be. There is also something worth knowing about the timeline for corrections. Errors that happened recently can be corrected relatively straightforwardly with the right documentation, but older errors going back 10, 20, or even 30 years can still be disputed if you have documentation to support your claim. Do not assume that because something happened a long time ago, it is too late to fix. If you have any records from that period, it is worth filing the correction request and letting Service Canada review it. Now let us talk about one more thing that connects directly to your CPP statement and that most seniors approaching retirement have never been told. If you are not yet receiving CPP and are still deciding when to start, your statement of contributions is the single most important tool you have for making that decision, because the statement does not just show your past earnings. It also shows your estimated CPP benefit at different ages, what you would receive if you started at 60, what you would receive at 65, what you would receive if you waited until 70. These projections are calculated using the earnings currently on file, which means if there are errors in your record right now, those projections are also lower than they should be. Correcting the errors before you apply for CPP means your benefit is calculated correctly from the very first payment. Correcting them after the fact means going through the adjustment process later. If you have not yet applied for CPP, pull your statement of contributions now, go through it carefully, and make sure everything on it is accurate before you submit your application. Here is your complete action list for right now. Log into your My Service Canada account at canada.ca and pull your CPP Statement of Contributions today. If you do not have a My Service Canada account, create one. It is free and takes 15 minutes. Go through the statement year by year. Look specifically for years with earnings that seem lower than what you made, years showing zero when you were working, and years that are missing entirely. Compare what is on the statement against any records you have. Old T4 slips, income tax returns, pay stubs, anything from your working years that shows what you actually earned. If you find a discrepancy, contact Service Canada at 1-800-277-9914 and ask about filing a correction request. Ask specifically about the request for reconsideration process for CPP earnings record errors. If you no longer have old T4 slips, ask the CRA at 1-8009-598281 whether copies can be retrieved to support your correction request. And if you have not yet applied for CPP, do all of the above before you submit your application. Making sure your record is accurate before you apply means your benefit is right from the very first payment. Everything shared in this video is based on confirmed Service Canada guidance and Government of Canada CPP rules. Individual situations vary, and if your contribution history is complex, speaking with a Service Canada benefits officer directly is strongly recommended. The call is free, the account is free, and checking your own record costs you nothing except the time it takes to look. Now here is what we want to hear from you. Scroll down to the comments right now and tell us honestly. Have you ever looked at your CPP Statement of Contributions? Reply yes, no, or checking now below. Every single comment is read and we respond. And if you reply no or checking now, we will point you directly to exactly where to find it inside your Service Canada account. If this video gave you information you did not have before, please share it right now with a senior in your life who receives CPP or is approaching retirement. The seniors who are most likely to have errors in their record are the ones least likely to know this document exists. A share today could mean hundreds of additional dollars every month for the rest of someone's retirement. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. because Service Canada rules, CPP calculations, and benefit correction processes are things this channel covers every single week. And you deserve to have that information before it costs you money you have already earned. Your CPP is built on decades of contributions. Make sure every single one of them is in your record.